Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining this Monday morning. We've got Burton with us from PropStream. We're going to be talking about finding people that want to sell, possibly even buy in fall and winter, because I know it gets a little bit slower in parts of the United States, even though I think it's going to pick up a little bit more than usual rates because of everything that's happening. Mortgage rates specifically may come down even more. I haven't checked this morning though. But before we get there, everybody let us know what city, what state, what country you're from. And Burton and I are thinking we start a podcast for PropStream. That's what I was going to ask you, man. Should we do that? That'd be kind of fun.
That'll be fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could talk for hours when it comes to real estate data and how I view things, man. I've even talked about maybe writing something about it. And but yeah, that's like again, I love data. I love how it impacts not just the lives of the viewers that are watching, but the lives that you guys are using the data for, right? The buyers and sellers. So um my soul is filled when I talk or show people how to utilize data.
Yeah, you could tell, man. You do such a great job in helping us. So, what's up, Roger? How's Seattle today, man? Let us know. All right, Burton, where do you want to start when we're thinking, let's get to where you think we should go as far as sellers? Let's start with sellers being ready or closer to being ready. And how do we find them through PropStream?
Absolutely. So the first approach I would and think about, and it's exactly what you just leaned on, right? Thinking about these variables that are happening outside of the normal realm. Like you mentioned, interest rates are possibly going to drop, and let's start there. Um, Not a lot of people know that PropStream has a mortgage filter in our search or in our search filters. So to your point, and I have to emphasize this a lot, you and I, Tristan, and all the viewers here, we're real estate professionals. We know what is going on in real estate. So just like you just mentioned, there's a possible rate reduction that's happening. I can assure you there's millions of Americans that don't even know that's going to happen. So let's
True.
utilize that in our advantage to educate these homeowners in any market that you're in. So someone said Boston Burbs. I don't even know where that's at. So let's go ahead and search that. Is it just Boston Burbs?
Yeah, like the suburbs of
Oh,
Boston.
just Boston in general. Okay, sorry, I'm not familiar with the East Coast, but we do have East Coast data because we are nationwide. But here,
Yeah.
for example, we have 48,000 addresses. But the cool thing is, I don't need to choose any of these categories. Typically, a user will go in a market and pull a high equity list, pull a vacant list, a lien list, which is amazing and it works. But what you mentioned, Tristan, is just kind of thinking outside of the box. So you mentioned there's a possible rate reduction, and I argue that there's a lot of these homeowners here that don't even know that's going to happen. So
True.
here's how I can utilize that. Let's go in Boston. Let's look for maybe a residential property, and you can
Oh,
do duplexes.
Burton, Kimberly,
Yes,
Kimberly is saying check Littleton, Acton, or Westford,
let's
Massachusetts.
do that.
And then
Littleton,
Kate
Acton,
Marie is saying
Westford.
your audio is a little bit is coming in and out a little bit. I can hear it too.
All right. Can you hear me better now? Is this a little bit
Wow,
stronger?
much better. There we go.
Okay. Thank you guys for that. So, okay, so we're in Littleton, and what I'm looking at right now is just anything residential, and we can isolate it to single family or multiple options. So, make sure you select exactly what you need. So, let's do how about single family and any multifamily 2 to 4 units, let's say. All right, so we've narrowed down the property type we're looking for, but now we got to create that situation that Tristan just mentioned. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a certain owner, an individual who's probably been in this house for many years. So let's do maybe 5 or 10 years. But here's the I'm going to educate them and possibly turn them into a potential seller and help them going forward. And that's what I was mentioning using our mortgage filter rate. So I can
God,
go in here and say, hey, I'm looking for this homeowner who has owned this property for about 10 years or more. And let's say the rates are going to drop. Let's say they drop to 5%. Well, I can assure you, talking to someone at a 2, 3%, they're not going to give any 2 cents about that 5 cents or that 5%.
true.
So Some things I hear quite often is nobody wants to sell because they're at 2 to 3%. Jump to the other side of the fence. In this case, show me everyone in Littleton that is a single family property, 2 to 4 units, individually owned for 10 years, but the interest rate on that property is above what it's going to drop. So maybe 8% or higher in this case. And we're down to 5 properties in this city. And then you mentioned 3 other cities, right? So that's 5 leads there. Our job is to now create our marketing and see who one of them wants to maybe sell their property, get a fixed rate, and essentially tap into the equity. We see here $500,000 in equity. But there's
Can
Acton.
you
So
zoom
let's go
into
ahead
that?
and yeah, we can definitely zoom into that. So
Yeah. And then as you're doing that, quick question, everyone. How is Burton's audio?
can
Just
you
to make
guys hear
sure we're
me?
all
Is it
we can hear you. I just think it comes in and out, but I just want to make sure it's not just me. So let me know in the
it could
comments.
potentially be me. I do see my screen flickering a little bit. So it could be that thing that we were talking about earlier.
Oh,
Just
Amazon Web
wanted to-
Services
yeah,
screwing
it's
with everything.
going in and out here. Let me see if I can adjust it to my headphones here. Let's see this.
All right, give us a few seconds, but Kimberly and
How about is this a little bit better if I use my direct headphones?
well, it sounds hold on, keep talking. Show us some stuff.
So as you can see here, I'm in the property
Yep.
details. The
It's
property.
it's better because it doesn't go in and out. It sounds a
Okay.
little bit not as clear, but I love this better. Go.
Okay, so perfect. So here we have a property that, again, I filtered for. It's been owned for 35 years, has an 8% adjustable rate on it from 2007, but this property has a lot of equity. Now, this property is also built in 1910. So if this owner wants to maintain the property's value, what do we got to do? Maintain the condition of the property. And that might be the case, right? When I reach out to this homeowner, they might say, not interested in selling. Or again, quarter four is around the corner. This person might have kids. This person might have family members. This person, might need to tap into a little of their, equity. That's the idea here, is to utilize what we know that's happening in the real world, and then look at PropStream's filtering menu and see how we can reverse engineer it. So Tristan, thank you for mentioning the high interest rates or the interest rates dropping, because you can see how we can use PropStream to identify properties with high interest rates. And then as real estate professionals, go out there and educate them to see if they want to sell or do anything else.
So let's talk about the higher rate ones and targeting those specifically. What have you seen works when we're targeting these? How do we approach them? How have you seen that works? Because I don't want to spam them either. So what would
Absolutely. I
you
think it
recommend?
just comes from a form of education. And so a lot of the agents that I see approach properties with high interest rates don't necessarily approach them with the intent to let them know that you should sell. It's more of just letting them know, are you aware that the rates just dropped? And letting that become the conversation piece,
Mm,
right? So rather than saying, hey, rates drop, you should sell your house. No, no, no. Again, I'm a real estate professional. You, the homeowner, might be working 2 jobs and you don't know what the feds are doing, right? So that's where
yeah.
I step in. As the local real estate professional, it's my job to identify these homeowners and go out and reach them and build that relationship, build that rapport. They may not sell today, but the fact that I'm educating them about what's happening may plant that seed for a future transaction 6-12 months from now.
Okay. And I don't know if you've talked to agents about how they approach this one, but I have a question about approach. When let's say we're emailing them, and we've got the emails now from PropStream,
Yes.
would you purposefully say, "Hey, I know your original rate was this amount, right? Rates have dropped. Have you refinanced or have,
No, I wouldn't necessarily. It's very tricky. And again, the reaction you're going to get from the consumer can vary. And so I've seen people call out the exact rate or the estimate that property might be in.
Mhm.
Same scenario, Tristan. I've seen them say, I know you have a loan with so and so. 50-50. Again, who's receiving that marketing may look at it and say, you're absolutely right. Let's conversate. Or, whoa, you know quite a bit, and that might turn them on, right? Or
I
turn
know.
them off, I should say. So I wouldn't necessarily come at it directly with an exact angle or provide specific details.
Mhm.
I, I probably would be just a little bit general, just
Okay.
vague. Hey, are you aware? Again, and kind of go from there. And then that's the idea, is because your brokerage, your agency, or maybe you as a personal investor, if you transition into that, right? At the end of the day, we're always here to educate the homeowner, not on the benefits of the transaction, but again, the pricing around the neighborhood, and then other resources that you might have in your brokerage that could provide assistance to this homeowner.
Okay. We've got rates possibly dropping. I mean, I looked today, mortgage, what did I look up this morning right now? Mortgage News Daily, which I go to daily, 6.23%. It's come down a little bit, right? So that's good. We'll see. Now, second thing, if I'm looking to get more possible sellers, and I know that a lot of people were making moves 2021, 2022, and they were making moves because now they got a second home, right? And now they're like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be here now anymore. Or crap, I have to go back into work now, right? Can't live where I
That's
wanted to
true.
live, right? How do we find those people?
Absolutely. That's a smart strategy, Tristan. So in PropStream search filter, let's go ahead and go to another market here. Let's see, we have Seattle. Someone mentioned that earlier. So let's go
Mm,
there. So what's cool about that strategy, or just identifying someone who might have a second, a third, and things didn't go as planned, go straight into our filter. Again, in owner information is where you're going to want to go. I always start with, what type of person do I want to talk to? Do I want to talk to a corporation? But in
mm,
your case, you said someone who may have to go back to work. So I'm thinking an individual.
yeah.
And then what you're looking for is this filter right here, numbers of properties owned. And so we could say, hey, we're looking for that person who has maybe 2 to 3 properties, 2 to 4, 2 to 5, whatever it may be. And then we can kind of go from there. So who in Seattle, Washington has 2 to 4 properties? We have 52 addresses. But to add to another layer, you mentioned that the purchase might have happened between 2020 or after. So we
Mhm.
can apply that as well. So we can go to sell date and say, make sure PropStream, you only just show me those individuals with 2 to 4 properties, and one of those purchases happened from January 2020 and afterwards. So the logic here is we're going to go through all of Seattle, Washington, and look for transactions that happen on January 1st of 2020, and then
Okay.
attach it to an individual owner. So that purchase has to be an individual name on that title, and that individual also has 2 to 4 properties under their portfolio. So as you can see, we have 11,000 or nearly 12,000 properties that were bought in 2020 or after, and those individuals that bought those properties also have properties in their portfolio. So for this property here, we can see 4 years and 5 months, and then we can go to the link property tab here and see the 2 other properties that he has. And it looks like one is a vacant parcel. And we can, the list goes on and on with every single one of this, or
That's
these
awesome,
results.
man.
So 2 years and 5 months of ownership, and then link properties, they have 3 other properties,
So
single
how
family
would we
residential.
how would you recommend we narrow it down to, let's say, 200, if you can get there? Like, what are some other filters you can add to narrow this
Oh
down so
yeah,
that
absolutely. If Seattle is anything like Southern California, then taxes are pretty high, because I could just tell by the high values that are here. So what I would probably do is maybe go down to owner information and occupancy status and use this one feature here. It was a family transfer or they're out of state, maybe a collection of both. So let's
ooh,
start, maybe create 2 different lists. Let's look for all the individuals that bought in this market in 2020, right? But they're an out of state individual buyer.
I like that
So
already.
we're
Out of
down
state.
to 1,000. So they bought, again, they're from a different state. They bought in this market. and a lot of things, right? Property management, property issues, taxes. So to narrow it down, we just took about 90% of our lists away. And that's one issue I would, or not an issue, but one angle I would take, Tristan.
Yeah, I like
And
that
then
angle a lot.
the other one would be, it could be both. You could do out of state, or maybe do two variations of this. One, who just inherited a property in Seattle. I actually would just start there first. Why? Because you just inherited taxes as well, right? You also just inherited a cash flow property. Maybe you need a tenant, and I have a list of people that want a tenant.
Where'd you go to find that? Show me where you found that.
Absolutely. So that's in owner information and occupancy, and just scroll a little down, and it's right there, interfamily transfer.
Interfamily transfer, and you chose
include.
Oh, got it.
Absolutely. So this is now saying, show me anybody that acquired a property after 2020, or again, maybe this year. We can reduce the date. So I've just kept it 2020 since from our previous search. But the logic here is who in Seattle is an individual and they inherited a property after January 1st of 2020. We have 16 of those results here.
And how often, I love that. How often are you updating this list, all the information and data?
Well, the cool thing is that our server updates any data that we get 24 hours. And so it really accounts to who is sending us the data. So every city, every municipal, every county has their own frequency. Let's assume Seattle sends it once a month, then that will be updated once a month. But that's assumption. They could be sending it once a week, twice a week. The way that I've kind of understood it is the higher the population, the faster the frequency will get, only because these counties, these tax assessor offices, these county clerk offices, they're fed by property taxes. And so more property taxes, the better technology. Essentially, for those that are familiar with technology, an API that's lets us directly connect and get data much faster. But there are markets out there that are still on paper. So what I would recommend, because I don't know your market and I don't know your market's frequency, after performing your search, at the very top of the filter, there's a save search button here. You can hit the save button, call it the individuals that inherited a property in 2020 or after, and then immediately set notifications down below. What that will do is anytime a property in that market meets that criteria. So if tomorrow, we get a new update and we find someone just inherited property in June, right, of 2025, because that's after 2020, you're going to get an email and then you can just log back in and pull that address into your marketing campaign.
I love that. Kimberly, yeah, the filters are the greatest thing about PropStream. I mean, if this is the first time joining, thank you. And the previous ones, every time Burton opens up a filter, I'm like, I didn't know that was there. Like I had no idea the transfer between family members was there. I was like, dude, that's another thing I didn't know. All right, Burton, we've got mortgage rates, right?
Yes.
We've got people that are either moved to an area or somehow got property transferred over to them. I'm thinking, let's go for, because there's a small, but it's going up a little bit. Notice of defaults. They're going up a little bit according to data from ATOM, right? ATTOM. So I want to see, how do we target these if we want to go that route?
Okay, perfect. And I got a little extra secret sauce for you guys here. This is a really cool topic. We get a lot of questions about, I'm going to use Los Angeles only because I know for sure this document exists in Los Angeles and it might exist in your market. So pay attention, okay? But to look for properties that are in default, essentially pre-foreclosures, we actually have that category. In our filter menu here at the top, go to lead lists and you can see the pre-foreclosure categories here. So just go ahead and select that. They're your pre-foreclosures. But a lot of people don't know that we actually put all of our pre-foreclosures together. So when you click on this pre-foreclosure box, it houses, depending on your state, notices of default, notices of trustees, notices of les pendants, and a fourth document that you probably don't know about. Now, to
Well,
find all those documents, you're going to go in our filter, and we actually have a pre-foreclosure bank-owned section here. And if you hit include, it will allow you to select the different types of pre-foreclosure. So here's how I've learned the differences between the different pre-foreclosures, okay?
Okay, shoot.
Depending on your state, California is a judicial state, or a non-judicial state, meaning when someone doesn't pay their mortgage, for example, right? It doesn't need to go to court. That lender can send that notification to the county. The county will process it. Now, it takes a while for the county to sometimes put an auction date on that document, because there's so many that are happening sometimes. So when it doesn't have an auction date on it, it's called a notice of default document. So this person hasn't paid their mortgage. The lender is sending a notice of default to the county because it's a non-judicial state. For the judicial states, it goes to the court instead, and that's called a notice of les pendants. What's the similarity between the two? They don't have an auction date yet. So if you're like, hey, I don't want a property without an auction date yet, and I'm in this state or that state, right? Don't know if it's judicial or not. This is your category. All right, you're filling up to the challenge. You do want the properties that go to the next stage. Those are properties that go from default or les pendants, and then they finally get that auction date. That's called a notice of trustee sale. And so you can select on auction here, and you'll see all those documents. So it's going to narrow it down here. We have 777. So out of those 3,204 pre-foreclosure documents, some without an auction date, some with, there are 777 of them with an actual auction date. And you can see the auction dates and so forth here, okay? Fourth and final document. The reason not too many people know about this, Tristan, because it's technically not a pre-foreclosure, but I have a friend out here who markets to them, again, as a form of educating them on maybe not going back into that behavior. And that fourth document is actually, again, not a pre-foreclosure. So you have to deselect this option. We're going to go ahead and deselect pre-foreclosure. And that fourth option, I'm going to go ahead and include. It's default releases right here. What these are notices of rescissions. It's a document that says this property was in pre-foreclosure and no longer in pre-foreclosure. So I want to emphasize really quick, they're not in pre-foreclosure, but what this is showing you, my way of thinking, it's a signal flare. It's saying this person was in pre-foreclosure. And sometimes when you go into those properties and you go into the document or the pre-foreclosure history, you can see a pattern. So this person was in pre-foreclosure in 2024 and they just got out of it this year. Thankfully, they haven't been in it again. But here's
I never even knew about this.
Yeah, again, not every county has these documents, but what you'll see sometimes, and I'm trying to find
this
a
is
pattern.
A great leading indicator, man. Even if like 50% aren't, maybe closer to 20% are thinking of moving because they're struggling. They barely caught. So it makes sense.
And the cool thing is, I'm trying to find one here, but every now and then we'll find someone. There it is. You see what we just found? Someone who's in this repeated behavior of going in and out of pre-foreclosure, in and out of pre-foreclosure, right? 2017 in pre-foreclosure, 2022 or 2017 in it, and then 2 months later out of it. 2022 in it, a year later out of it, and then. So again, thankfully, the individual is.
Burton, so let's say we do go with this one, right? Because I love this filter right here. And what was it? What was the name of it officially?
It's in our filter. It's called the default releases, but the actual document name is notices of rescissions. But it's found in our pre-foreclosure and bank-owned area. You're going to select include, and then select default releases. And again, I just have to emphasize, guys, these are not pre-foreclosure properties. These were properties that were in pre-foreclosure, and they could have been in pre-foreclosure last month or 2 months ago. So these homeowners have gotten the ability to get out of it. But from my experience, sometimes they're borrowing money to get out of that scenario. So
Okay,
it
good.
could be,
That's
again, just kicking that can further down the road. And that's where you come in. You come in to finally pick up that can and say, nope, I'm here to help you with the situation, right?
Can we narrow this filter down on top of what you just chose and say, well, who's got a certain amount of equity from
Yes,
these?
absolutely. Value and equity is where you would do that, and you can actually put an actual dollar amount, or because values could be, you know, in the millions or sometimes $500,000, we could just be general and say anybody that has at least 50% or more in equity.
Yeah, let's go with
And
that.
then there we go. We have these properties right here. So we're down to about 100. Oh, I think I just killed my search here. Hold on one second. Let me run that search again. There we go. So Los Angeles County, we're looking for pre-foreclosures that are default releases, and then let's go ahead and apply that 50% in equity. And
Excellent. Let's see
here
how
we go. We drop it down to
wow.
2.6. Oh, it's still going. So
Oh, it's still going. That's because Amazon's struggling. It's not your fault.
Yeah. So out of those properties, 2658 of them have more than 50% in equity. And then
That's
again,
crazy. That's way more than I thought. I thought that number was going to drop to less than 50%.
and then as you can see, history has a tendency of repeating itself. And as real estate professionals, guess what? You can prevent that from continuing. And that's really what I'm just saying. Like, again, we want to emphasize that these are not in pre-foreclosure, but sometimes you can see that there's baggage there's a lot going on with some of these homeowners. And so thankfully they're not in pre-foreclosure anymore, but who's to say it happens again? And sometimes you can see that that is the case. And so maybe you might be able to prevent that from happening.
Bert, you got me thinking. I'm excited about this one specifically. I didn't even know this existed. So take me a little further in, because first of all, everybody check out the 7-day trial, scan that. I've got some questions for Burton. This is amazing. I have PropStream. I use it. All right, Burton, a question on this. If I'm going to now take this to make this continuous for my business. So number one, I'm going to create a filter for it. I'm going to create a folder for it so it's saved, right?
Yep.
Every day, anything new that pops up, it adds to it, right? How do I do that really quick?
Oh, so that's using our lead automator feature, and that's awesome. So you're going to want to check off all the properties like I'm doing right now. Excuse me, Kristen. And then go to actions, and let's go ahead and save that. So we'll call this the LANOR, notices of rescissions, right? Those are new. And then with 50% equity. So we'll hit save.
Okay.
Doing that, we'll send it over to our My Properties area. So we're just going to wait for our server to confirm the save.
It's not your fault. Amazon sucks today. It's knocked off like
you know why? It's because all the power going to AI. Right. So.
Well, listen, as it's okay, so you've made this list. Now every morning I can check it or have my admin check it and then continue the process of mailing to them. What type of information do we get for these people? Emails, addresses?
Yeah, so if you want, normally once you save a list, you'll get the core information, which is the property details, the mortgage information, the lien history, the bankruptcy, anything attached to it, including the mailing address. What you're not going to get right off the bat is the contact information. If you want contact information, and we're talking about mobile numbers, landlines, and emails, process it through our skip tracing. So depending on your package, it's either 12 cents if you're on the essential plan, or if you're on the pro plan, which is the next plan above, it's actually free. And that pro plan gives you 50,000 addresses. So do the math. That's about $6,000 in savings if you do that. So right now, we just saved our lists, and I'm in My Properties, and this is where we can find our LA notices of rescissions with 50% in equity we just saved. And thank you for bringing up that that question, Tristan, because with that pro plan that I'm talking about, not only do you get that free skip tracing, but you get this feature called Automate Lists. And what that feature allows you to do is once you build a list, it allows PropStream to essentially move any properties that match. So when new properties that match your exact search criteria, we can automatically move it into this list for you, or create another list. So while you're working on this list this month, next month, your list is already being created for you.
Dude.
Right. Here's another thing. And again, we've been in business since 2006. We also kept hearing that, hey, how do I remove this property from my list because it's no longer a lead of mine, or I don't want it, or the owner said get me off your list. So many different reasons. Or the most important part, and this is why we created, is what happens if it changes categories? Like what happens if it's no longer what I asked for?
Yeah.
This second feature right here is property changes. So anytime a property changes from your exact search criteria, right? So again, there's going to be other reasons why you're going to manually remove a property, but what we're going to focus on is when it no longer matches your search criteria.
So if this property for some reason doesn't have 50% equity, it'll automatically be removed.
Correct. Or if it goes into a pre-foreclosure again, for example.
Actual pre-foreclosure, then it goes
correct.
Up. Cool.
Absolutely. Ooh. So we can now let PropStream know if that's the case, go ahead and remove it from my list. Why? Because that's a wasted phone call. Well, not a wasted phone call, but maybe one less call you don't need to make that day if your focus is on notices of rescission, or one less postcard that says, hey, I'm here to help you with whatever that is, because that might not be the case anymore, right? So just be aware that not only are there new properties coming into PropStream, but the properties that you're working on can also change. And with Lead Automator, we can help guide you in kind of organizing your list.
Burton, these specifically, these notice of rescission, I think they're a little bit easier to call. Like I would imagine as a caller, right? Me, if I'm coming up with the right script, there's so much, it's a lot, I feel it's a lot better, because notice of defaults have always been challenging to reach out to, even though we reach out to them. Expireds are always fun. and for sale by owners are fun too. But this one, I think I've never, this is my first time looking at this or thinking about it. So
that's awesome. I'm happy that I was able to spark a new idea.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what? I didn't either. I remember at one point just going through our database, I was like, what's a default release? And a few Google searches, and I'm like, I never knew that. And then when you look at the history, sometimes you see these homeowners constantly go in and out and in and out. And I don't know, man. I hate to be in that situation. Yeah. I hate to have that kind of anxiety as a homeowner that, hey, lender's constantly on my back. Maybe they just don't know how to get out of that situation. And that's where you come in. You come in as that real estate professional, that superhero. Hey, let's tap into your equity. Hey, the loans have, rates have dropped. You can get a better rate and not have to deal with this, right? So I don't know. Thank you for seeing the light in that, Tristan. And I'm happy I was able to guide you and your viewers on this fourth pre-foreclosure document, if you will.
All right, everyone, let us know if you have any questions. Kimberly, thanks for being part of this. Roger, K. Marie, Denise, everybody else, if you've got questions, you can go ahead and scan that. You can always reach out to me and I can direct you over to Burton or somebody at PropStream. In the meantime, give it a trial. Just do yourself a favor. If you're going to do it for 7 days, make sure that you have a really clear indication as to what you're going to use this for. Like, are you going to target certain people that are struggling, rates, move-in areas? There's so much you can do here. It's nuts. So you might have to go through a tutorial as you're going through there, but you're gonna love it. What did Neville say? What's up, Neville? Terrific presentation, great filters. Thanks, Burton and Tristan. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Kimberly, nice to get one in the right schedule. I appreciate the intel. Excellent advice. Kimberly, thanks for jumping in. Burton, great job, buddy. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tristan.